long story short, we ended up getting the morning show slot after a long-standing morning show was upturned. And a I Hate Bo and Denise Facebook group was created. My co-host was Bo, and I was 22, 23 at the time. And again, as a recovering people pleaser, that rocked me. And when ultimately nothing that you could do or say, I couldn't control what people thought of me, literally, and then saw their thoughts of me. And it was at that moment where I'm like, okay. And now, don't get me wrong, there were lots of tears and conversations with my now husband, like, oh my gosh, nobody likes me, I should just quit type of thing.
Yes.
And yet I look back at that moment and think, man, if I hadn't decided to show up the next day and continue to be me, or dare I say, find the real me, I might not be here today.
You know, words are really important. The way you speak, the way you show up, the way you represent in the world is your brand, is your fire, is your purpose. And with me today is Denise Tallcott. And she is a keynote speaker and a coach who helps women find their voice, represent who they are, and also not be afraid of what their actual purpose is. Hey, Denise, how are you?
Hi, Daffney. Holy cow, what an intro. Aren't we all looking for that? I mean, we might be teaching people how to find it, but I think all of us are still trying to find it ourselves too.
Well, you and I touched earlier a little bit about this, that it is the whole map. It is the whole story coming together. And what a beautiful age that you and I are at, where we are recognizing that we are subject matter experts in our experience, and sharing those experiences with people is our number one job right now.
I think it's such a gift to be able to have the opportunity to do that type of thing, because I think so many of us, we know what we love, but how can we make that work for us in a career and in our homes and outside of our homes? Can be scary, difficult, and hard. And all of those things are still true even when you're still doing them. So we're learning together, we're growing, and Daphne, you made a really great point earlier. Like, we're in a world where we can either choose to be divided or we can choose to come together. And women supporting women to not fucking shrink is amazing. Sign me up, put me in, coach. Let's chat.
This is what I keep having these wonderful experiences with fellow coaches, fellow women, intentional women who realize that we don't actually have to compete with each other anymore. It's this hierarchical sort of like masculine energy that keeps us actually disconnected and disempowered. Now, the fun part for you, though, as a keynote speaker, as someone who works in this industry, you actually have conversations with men. And that's a different type. And I think that's why I love your brand so much, because you are so direct and you are so intentional with your word choices.
Thank you for that. I also love to say that I'm a recovering people pleaser. And that is, I think, why I've created this business, so that I can't be that, because our brains are so quick to go back to what we know or what is comfortable. And for me, it's a high school career of what do I need to shapeshift to be so that people like me. And once I realized after a career in radio that, you know, people can either choose to like me or choose to not, but that's not my responsibility. I really then was able to like dive in as to who I think I was made to be, and to capitalize and teach others how to embody a sense of confidence, not necessarily in what they do, but how they show up daily. I love to think, and I often teach this, I am in competition with no one except who I was yesterday. I compete with who I was yesterday. And let's be honest, since we've already kind of mentioned like the perimenopause, menopause, that hormonal state, like some days competition is, I have to wave the flag, right?
Yes.
Like I'm not going to be like I was yesterday, but that does not mean I am not as good today. I am different. And so getting to, I know this transitions weirdly into how did we talk about hormones and yet we were talking about men.
Yeah.
There is a sense, for me at least, there is a sense of removing the expectation that I place on myself as to whether or not men are going to like what I have to say, because it's easier for me to care less. Women can be mean. Women can be really nice. I don't surround myself with women who are not uplifting individuals. It's very easy to look around a table and say if you do or do not belong here. Men, they won't even remember what you said 2 days ago, let alone 2 hours. And so it gives me a little bit more of a different place to just like let it go a little bit. And I found my spiciness, if you will, around leading group facilitations of men. And so putting yourself in uncomfortable situations sometimes lends the opportunity to learn about yourself and to then be able to grow and help lead other women to say, no, somebody might think you're spicy, but I actually love the energy that you are giving off. Let's hang out kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we can all relate to this. And this goes in many ways. This goes in friendship, this goes in community, this goes in career, as you know. Yeah, I have to tell you personally, I've always related better to men. Like professionally, it was always easier. In fact, early in my career, I feel like I had more male energy, more male client base because I wasn't afraid to say something to them, or I wasn't afraid to be misunderstood. I could be very direct with my language and things like that. I still to this day, which is really interesting because the podcast is really about empowering women to do this. I still struggle to this day with how to approach some of those female interactions and how to best relate because it is we're basically bouncing off of each other, trying to people please or trying to find without and losing that authenticity that you're talking about.
Yeah. Good job being vulnerable. That stuff is not easy to
No,
say.
no.
And yet, for me, what comes to mind is if I can find something about, let me rephrase that. People will never forget how you make them feel. They
Mm,
won't. And so, how can I make you or whomever feel loved, cared for, and valued within 5 minutes? It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with asking questions to get you to talk about yourself. And being a podcast guest on these episodes is I love it. And yet it's a challenge for me because I love to ask the questions to get you to feel really comfortable. And so I challenge myself in these roles to flip because otherwise I'm losing that ability, which I love so very much, to be able to put a concise and educated thought together with no prep. Why? Because the audience deserves us to prepare. And so this is a challenge for me because I want to be able to have an arsenal of things that I believe and live out daily and can then translate nicely as not only a working woman, but as a working mom. How many times do our kids put us on the spot and rather than take a beat or take a pause, we react and say something that we experienced our parents saying years
sure.
ago that we're like, dang it, why did I do that? Well, it's
Yeah.
because we don't have necessarily enough thoughts in our arsenal to be able to say, no, I want to take a pause. I want to say, ooh, can you help me understand why you chose to do this instead of that?
Yeah.
And those
Yes.
things, when we're coaching our kids, basically. And dare I
Yeah.
say, Daffney, when
Yes.
we're coaching our husbands, like
Yeah.
when you said something about more of the masculine energy, that's me too. In my mind, that's from a lifetime of sales, right? If you were in sales, that's a more masculine, not only dominated field, but you have to be a little bit more direct. But I just had a conversation today with a one-on-one coaching client is there's different sales techniques. I'm more relational. This person might be, dare I say, like a sleazy car salesman, and I'm not going to be like that. And that's okay. But working through those conversations, realizing, especially with your partner, like, hey, it's okay for me to let my guard down with you
Mm.
can be hard. And so
God, yeah. Yeah.
I just give
And
credit to that.
we talked about this fairly briefly. Like we come in young, we come in really young, and we don't have any of these skills, whether it's for relationships or for parenting, or even let's say the world at large. We don't know where we fit into the mix, right? So it's hard not to take on personas and personalities and armor and that sort of thing. Is there something? Is there a place that you start at when you take on a client with finding that authentic voice?
For me personally, or for helping them find their authentic voice?
Well, I'd love to hear your story. Like, I'm sure that you actually figured it out on your own. You're like, oh, that's what it was. Like, where did your authentic voice develop?
So I went to school to be a TV news reporter. I was very selfish in nature. I loved to be the center of attention. I come from a background of beauty pageants and Yeah, see, you get it. I love the art
Yeah.
of being able to speak on stage, or just speak and other people hear. But I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I was doing it for a look at me mentality. When I graduated college and then I did not get a job in TV because you know how you like make a decision and then a week later you get the other decision that you really were wanting and you're like, crap, too late. I'm not going to renege. I should have reneged. But nonetheless, I got into radio. And long story short, we ended up getting the morning show slot after a long-standing morning show was upturned. And a I Hate Bo and Denise Facebook group was created. My co-host was Bo, and I was 22, 23 at the time. And again, as a recovering people pleaser, that rocked me. And when ultimately nothing that you could do or say, this was when social media was it was new, couldn't control what people thought of me, literally, and then saw their thoughts of me because, of course, we went and looked at every message that was posted because why would you not? Gosh.
Yes.
And it was at that moment where I'm like, okay. And now, don't get me wrong, there were lots of tears and conversations with my now husband, like, oh my gosh, nobody likes me. I should just quit type of thing.
Yes.
And yet I look back at that moment and think, man, if I hadn't decided to show up the next day and continue to be me, or dare I say, find the real me, I might not be here today.
Wow. I was like, and like, it's just out in public. It's out, it's raw. It's for everyone to see. How did you manage that at 22? How did you manage that?
Well, I was legal to drink. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, talk. Like I said, I let it take advantage of me. And yet for every bad, there was a good, but I just didn't necessarily see the good. I had to convince myself that there were other people that believed in me that I couldn't. Because in that season of life, I didn't believe in me. And so if we apply that to today, if there are days, and we all have them, where, oh man, I am not feeling like me. I don't say the best, or I don't label things as, this is the power of our words. I don't label things as, we're having a bad day. This sucks. Like, I am experiencing bad things maybe, but I will not let that ruin me. I have a review file. So from time to time, when people send kind notes or text or emails, I save them I have a folder at home where I save them, or I save them in a Word doc on my computer. And on those moments when I start to let other people's thoughts control the narrative in my mind, I go and look at this and remind myself in the moments that I can't remind myself that one person's opinion can completely be different than another person's opinion. And then I say that, and that's okay.
What a great strategy.
But it doesn't have to be mine.
How is that translated, that really big dynamic moment? Because I don't know, at 22, that might have either crushed me or lit me on fire, which probably is closer to my story too, is just when someone would always tell me, and this might be a middle child situation, but anytime someone told me that I was too small or I wouldn't make it or didn't make sense for me or there was somebody better out there, it lit me in a way where I was like, oh, really? Is that your background? Yes, exactly. It's like, oh, I'm too short to do that. Oh, I'm too small. And I think that says a lot about your constitution as a person. You as well, like, you were brand new to the workforce. You're brand new to your own show. And someone started a page to take you down before you even got started.
And yet, don't we all have people probably day to day that do that, and yet we might not even know about it? I mean, there are people who are definitely not cheering us on, and we could choose to focus on that, or we could choose to focus on the fact that I can cheer me on in a humble way, and I have a team of support who, whether that's at home or at work, that want to see me succeed. And that's one thing I learned is like, we are always going to have an I Hate Bo and Denise club. We just are.
Yes.
But what are you going to do about it?
Whether they're from high school or whether it always in that sort of way. You know, the other piece of that too, is you said it's about the people that you surround yourself with and you allow those thoughts and those things to come into your orbit. I heard something really dynamic the other day, and it was, it was more geared towards like partnerships and relationships, but it was basically saying, this is your glass ceiling. The person that you marry, the circle that you create is your glass ceiling. So if you are in a space where people are not confident or are not cheering you on, like you said, or secretly sabotaging you with, backhanded compliments or troublesome curiosity as opposed to, hey, I'm with you no matter what. You create your own glass ceiling with the people around you.
I remember I want to say it was March of 2022, and I went to Florida to get certified under John Maxwell. Super great experience. I was sitting in the training room, and John Maxwell himself said, half of you in this room will end up divorced after you complete this program. And if you're unfamiliar, John Maxwell is someone who has been married for a very long time, believes that everyone should be a forever learner, and is very faithful. So for him to say a statement like that, I remember vividly thinking, oh, that'll never be me. What? We'll be fine.
Yes.
Daphne, I'm not joking. A year later, my husband and I were in marriage counseling because I had divorce threat. Like, I had threatened divorce. I'll be the first to admit it. Because we all make mistakes, but his were my final straw. And how do we use that to then say, in a roundabout way, like, I don't want this to be our glass ceiling.
Yeah.
You being stagnant in personal growth and development is not only holding me back, it's holding us back because I see more for you too. And then people change. And my husband, Jeremy, is the example of that. I have my own flaws, don't get me wrong, but we worked on them together and he did as well. And so when you think about if you are in a room, whether that is your marriage or if you need to be looking into a masterminds type of setting, like your ceiling is where you set it. You can choose to set it differently. And those come with hard decisions and hard choices, but you can do it. And I feel as if I can genuinely say that because I was getting ready to get rid of my ceiling. And then instead, that gave Jeremy an opportunity to choose that ceiling as his floor.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's incredibly vulnerable in the way that some people just never, it's too raw for them because, it's a reflection of, did I make a mistake? Am I unworthy? Am I there's that sort of thing, or right? Yes. Like, it was like, if we're going to be honest as women who are professionals and pushing and helping other people and encouraging other people, we have to be really honest about the fact that we have just as many of these moments as anybody else. We have tough conversations. I don't know that we've gotten to the D word, but to the point where we're like, I think you need to find a new place to stay for a day or two because I need that space. But when you are willing to, like you said, be honest, say what it is, create a date, say by this date, if we're not in a place that is moving forward, I'm going to move forward, says a lot about you. And it says a lot about how much you recognize your own value, because I think a lot of us get trapped in that idea of what will people think of us if we're not in, if we're not in that same relationship. What will people think of us? Where do all of our support systems, where do all our comforts, where do all of our regular things? I don't want to start over. I can't tell you how many times I've come into a situation with a client or a family member or a friend. And that's always the thing is like, well, I just have to hold out a little longer, or, we've been together so long, or it's no different than when we were growing up and you were dating somebody and the choice to get married, you probably remember this, is, well, we've been together for so long. So either we're going to get married or we're going to break up. And you're like, if that is the choice, break the fuck up. And I mean that sincerely because that person, that choice, that family is how your life is going to evolve. That is going to be all of the resources that you have. And thank God, it sounds like you have the same situation with your husband where he was willing to evolve. He was willing to hear what I had to say, remove his own ego from the situation in a way that he would say, wow, when I heard it come out of your mouth, as opposed to how I judged and decided it actually was in my head, you're pretty incredible. And that took a lot of gonads, whatever it is, to say that out loud, especially as a woman, right? So a woman who has children, a woman who has things that, 20 years ago, we wouldn't be able to take out credit and get our own house and things like that. So just keeping that in perspective that we are a new generation of cycle breakers in that way. When anyone I'm talking to feels particularly bad about themselves, that they had a failure, they had a divorce, and sometimes if they've had two or three, right? Maybe we check the patterns on that one. But after a divorce, one of the very big things for clients, friends, family along is this feeling of failure. And the reality is, like, I just like to talk statistics. I'm like, 50% of the time it works. Like, it was like, it's worse than a placebo, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not, the truth is that it's meant to be that way. It takes two people to evolve over time. And it takes two people. So if you are a listener and you're in that sort of chasm of, I'm becoming somebody else, my voice is coming out, the circle I have is really suppressing me and maybe causing some physical symptoms, this is a great opportunity to pause and reflect. Is this an opportunity for a hard conversation like you and I had with our partners? Or is this a value check? I think one of the hard things, and this is not so long ago in my house, one of the big conversations came to a peak of, I don't know if we have the same values anymore. And then it got easier because then it wasn't a character assassination. Like, you suck, you did this, you didn't put the dishes. Like, it wasn't about that. It was when I sort of stopped cold in my tracks and I'm like, I'm hearing what you're saying. I understand. I think you're hearing what I'm saying, but it sounds like we don't have the same values anymore. And I think that took the responsibility of who was better at fighting or who was better at communicating, and came right back to a conversation. Like, yeah, do we have the same values? Because you can't move forward with anybody, a work partnership, anything like that, if you don't have the same values. You're not ever going to move forward.
Two thoughts.
Yeah.
One, I don't believe in failure. If I believed in failure, I would not have started 3 businesses ever. Failures don't exist, especially if you learn something. So if you make a mistake and you learn something, label it as a lesson. It is not a failure. You learned something from it. And that is an example of the power of our words. If you tell yourself consistently over and over and over that you are a failure, then you will become a failure. You are manifesting failures. I am manifesting lessons. I might not make the best choices, but I am going to learn something from them and, dare I say, do something with it and hopefully make money in it down the road.
I love that. This is an investment. It's not a failure. It's a investment. It's a mistake. You and I very candidly talked about this earlier, where I feel really confident in my clients and my work and the things I've done for 20 years. But what kind of a weirdo has a second baby at 42 and is like, yeah, you know what? Let me turn this into a podcast, right?
I love it.
This is never going to be a mistake, no matter how successful, no matter how far this goes, no matter how long I'm gifted the opportunity to have this show. It will all be worth it. And it'll all be worth it because even if it was a mistake at the end of the day by anybody else's thoughts or beliefs, the fact that I can connect with wonderful people like you and have these open conversations about what's real and what's not performative, and let's not put on a show, and let's just say it like it is. If it helps one person just sort of bridge that gap, I'm here for that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Authenticity is connection. When you are authentic, people connect to you. I lived a life of inauthenticity. I get that word every time. Inauthenticity so much that I wanted to be whoever that person needed me to be. And I got there through years of therapy on my own, of realizing that that's just a little girl who didn't get the attention that she wanted at 5 years old and said, look at me, look at me. Whereas what makes you you, whether that is doing a value exercise, whether that is doing, hey, name 5 things that you really like about yourself. 5 things that you want to show up as. I love asking the question, how do you want to feel at the end of this week? And if that word is joy, then your body and mind is going to find things that week that bring you joy. And then at the end of the week, whether it's with myself or our kids or our family, I ask, hey, you wanted this week to be joy-filled. What did you find?
Yeah.
And that seems in a Midwest rural farm area where I could look outside my window and see corn, like that's
Yes.
sometimes foreign to people. Wait, life is simply as easy as saying, I want life to be happy this week. And then you find happiness. And yes, there are going to be hardships, but literally today, you could have
Yeah.
listed several things that didn't go right, and you could list things that really went well. Which one are you going to choose to focus on?
This is that red car theory, right? Like,
Oh,
you
yes.
never notice a red car until you're like, oh, I have a red car. So it is exactly that. I think that that's, wow, what a profound way to look at that too, where it's just like, you're in the driver's seat. You were literally the main character. And I think we forget that too, because we have so many responsibilities we give us and maybe not so bad, so good role models about this. But you were in the driver's seat. You were the main character of your life. And if you keep giving away that main character status, you are literally at the whim of the person driving in front of you at the grocery store, right? So if we can be intentional this week and say to ourselves, I'm the main character. I want, like you said, if I want to feel joy at the end of this week, if you make that decision, the power is in your hands, right?
And the best way to do this is by changing your word from I have to do this to I get
Oh,
to do this.
yes.
Get to
Yes.
go to the grocery
Yes.
store. I get to go pick up the kids from sports camps. I get to take out the trash versus I have to go pick up the kids. I have to take out the trash. Like all of these things are we living a have to life or are we living a get to life? And that is how you bring more joy simply by switching out get to instead of saying have to.
I feel like I have to sit with that forever, ever, or just like put it on one of those nice boards behind me. I get to, right? It is true. It reframes everything you're saying, whether it's being stuck in traffic, I get to be on my way to pick up my kids. I get to like there are so many little things that can pull you out of joy, pull you out of focus, pull you into frustration. It's no different than that glass ceiling thing we were talking about earlier. The glass ceiling can literally be, like you said, the intentions of your words, the intentions of your focus. So I think there's just so many nuggets in here and that we can kind of dig in and say, we are in the power position. We're literally always in the power position if we choose the focus, if we choose the glasses we put on, right? Is there something you're seeing or that you're experiencing right now with like clients or yourself where you're like, wow, you know what? This is a tough time in the world. Is there something that you're doing or like a practice that you like to share?
I lead a mastermind on every other Wednesday where a group of women come around a table in person. And
Oof,
they're so
jealous,
powerful.
jealous.
Yes. Like in person is the ultimate goal. And yet Zoom is great, but in-person masterminds are so great. And she has just, she's labeled July as a shit show. Like July is a pass. When you look at the month of July in the summer, it is meant for kids. Like it is meant for
Mm-hmm.
you to show up for your kids. And I remember last summer, our kids were 6 and 8, and it was a lot. I didn't feel like I showed up in the best way. And I remember, so I always plan as much as I can in the moment. So last July, I was feeling the shit show that my friend and client says it to be. And in March, because I have the gift of being able to be booked out very far in advance. And in March, I wrote, do not overschedule in June and July. And man, I had to go in and block off some days and some times to not schedule it. But I planned for July 2026 me in July of 2025.
Yes.
Because we have got to show ourselves what is important in the moments where we didn't make it a priority.
Yes. Yes. We only get so many summers. We only get so many opportunities. And this is that get thing, right? We're gaining. Every time we say the word get means gain, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I love to have conversations in the summer with clients, like you said, is like, this is not a time to like
Build.
sacrifice yourself,
No.
sacrifice your health, sacrifice everything. If anything, it's time to go of some of the things that are superficial and don't really matter. And I have to tell you, like just the experience of this summer, having Tuesdays with my 5-year-old, having just the two of us, no baby, no husband, nothing. It has been so rewarding. And it also has caused me to reflect on what I want and what's joyful to me, because as a mom, as a business person, as somebody who's constantly performing and in a way that is helping to move other people forward, you stop thinking about what do I actually like? What makes me happy? Like what makes me giggle, right? And there's no more honest person than a 5-year-old. There's that.
Truth. And it's so darn hard. Like I
Yes.
try to think about in the summer, I'm not building. I love to create and build and
Yeah.
see what we can do.
Yes.
I cannot do that in the summer. It does not go well for anyone, right? Because then I'm tense and I'm like frustrated that I came up with this great idea. And now I'm going to go execute it, or I'm going to give somebody else the project to execute. This summer especially has really been a trying season for me in the best ways, because I said I wanted to be slower. So now I am slower by choice, and I am fighting that internal drive of let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Same. Yeah.
And so I always love to look at third quarter as gonna watch out, right? Like
Yes.
I have some ideas, this is what I'm going to do. And then I go all the way up till Christmas. Like I don't coast but then Christmas break, I am present for the kids. I love the thought, be where your feet are. And I'm not always where my feet are.
I think it's really interesting that you prioritize the summer and you prioritize the Christmas season. And I think that's no matter what kind of business you're in, or no matter what kind of, system you use, that is just practical. Whether you're a marathoner, you have to have an off season. No matter what you're doing, I think when you organize with the intent to recover, to find creative space, or whatever it is, make mistakes, whatever that may be, you get to become a novice. You get to become a rested, more connected person in that case. So I love that you said in September, you just run hard at it. Do you have like a ramp up, or do you have something that you like share with people that you're like, this is how I get ready for September, or this is how I frame, or this is the mantra that I use?
I always love to think I can do hard things, and being more intentional with how I place my time in the summer. Like, I don't want to make anyone listening think that Daffney and I just hang out with our kids. Like, I really press what was 5 days of work into 4. And then the kids come with me on Thursdays. They come with me to meetings. They are in the background of Zoom calls. And that's intentional. I want them to see how they can build a business that fits around the lifestyle that they want. Now, could I do that when they were your kids' age? Absolutely not. Like, this is the first year at 7 and 9 where I've been okay with that thought process. But when I am looking at August, I know that September to November, I do 2 online courses each year. I do one in the first quarter after our leadership conference, and then I do a second one September to November, where we are, okay, you've had this break for a little bit. Let's go. Let's be growers and doers.
Batteries charged.
Yes, like let's go. And then you're going to, dare I say, enjoy the fruits of the labor that you are bestowing right now. So I was told, like, I'm the type of person who I'm going to create an idea and then I'm going to hand it off to somebody to do the dirty work, right? Like, here's the person that's going to go build this on the website. Here's the materials that need created. Go do all of this. Bring it back to me. And I'm like such a scheduler. I need this by this date. I need this by this date. And so I plan all of that 6 months in advance. And then I do the same thing every year. So then it's like getting back on a bike, if you will.
Yeah, it's a system for your life.
It's a system. We both know from Life Management System, right? She talks about that type of system, creating systems to be able to replicate and do that type of work. And so that's just an example as to what works for me, so that when August comes, I'm not doing all of the things I wish I was doing. It's already in place. I just got to push start.
All right. So I think what we're telling our listeners today is that go ahead and take that break. Go ahead and make the mistakes. Be silly, be ridiculous, be creative, and also be like contemplative. Like, is this how you're going to move forward next week? And you were just saying you've got a mastermind leadership thing coming up. Can you tell the group about this?
Oh, you're so kind. It's called Growing on Purpose. And so it is an online mastermind. It's 10 weeks. It starts after Labor Day and stops before Christmas intentionally, right? And we go through conversation, right? We learn about the laws of growth and these John Maxwell tactics and tools that each and every one of us can utilize. But the cool thing is about masterminds, and Daffney, I know you've been part of these before, so you can understand the gold that is a mastermind. Once you're part of a round of table of men and women who have the same desire to grow and be better, the content,
Values, yeah.
yes, the content doesn't necessarily matter because the conversation and learning comes from one another. And that's what I love around a table, is that round table discussion that only happens when we have a specific intent in mind of growing on purpose. And so we'll go through the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth from John Maxwell. That's the book that we will read. But oftentimes the conversation stems from one question off of a chapter, and then we talk about it. So that goes, like I said, September 17th is the start date of that. If you at all are interested, we would love to have you.
Of course we are.
Yes, you can. I'm gifting your audience $50 off the price with the code word podcast50. You're so welcome. The link will be available in Daffney's bio, but it's DeniseTallcottLeadership.com. A chance for you to grow with people who have the same intent in mind.
Create your own glass ceiling, right?
There you go. Or bust through
Denise,
your own.
Thank you so much for being with us today. And thanks for moving this conversation about not fucking shrinking, right? Like we choose the people around us. We choose our mindset. If you are somebody who could benefit from this show, if you probably know somebody who's in this same position, please share and comment and help move this conversation along for others too. Denise, thanks for being with us today.
What a pleasure. Daffney, you are an asset to so many people who listen to you, and I'm excited to learn from you as well.